Hello friends, hope you are well. Welcome to youtube.com. You have landed in the right place for videos. Welcome to the Dirt Report, your Aussie tech and telco news show. Remember, if you like this video, then tap that like button. And if you'd like to see more, please consider subscribing. It's all you have to do to support this channel. On another note, I received some private messages telling me that they only watch this channel for these weekly videos and when I change my shirt midway through a sentence. So I appreciate the messages, and that's great. Love reading all your emails. So if this is your first time seeing this Dirt Report, then know that during the week I also release gadget reviews, tech talks, and a live weekly gaming podcast on Saturday. So you get a whole lot of bang for your sub. So in today's show we have a lot, so expect a fairly long video. NBN Co lands deals falls through. What does this mean for you? NBN Co more like NBN Copper. NBN Co's lies catch up with them in Canberra. Surprise, Gigabit Plans a hit. NBN Co extends things. ACCC fights the villainous Sony, and Peter Dutton is Voldemort. Let's get started with NBN Co's current dilemma. Now this dilemma is an odd one, as I think it would be a good result for some people, not so much for NBN Co's purse. So it is copper, and by copper I mean that really crappy cable that NBN Co decided to use instead of future-proofed fiber. Yep, that one. And guess what? They decided to buy more. That's right, more copper. Copper for everyone. 50,000 kilometers of copper more. Look, a few years ago the overall price of fiber cable was nearly twice that of copper, but now the price between fiber and copper has narrowed and fiber components and hardware have steadily declined. Even back in 2016, Mike Quinley, the former boss of NBN Co, has said that the current copper-based fiber to the node strategy would end up costing more than the original fiber optic model. And so here we are, adding more copper to the network, which then will have to be dug up and replaced with fiber anyway. How does that saying go? Measure twice, cut once? Or was it put copper cable in, then dig it up again to put fiber in? I can't quite remember. Now, frustrations aside, NBN Co has said that around 20,000 kilometers of this copper roll will be used to fix and or upgrade the fiber to the curb type connections that have aged and damaged copper cables. And in fairness, this is a quick and easy solution to get people connected instead of redesigning to provide fiber. Remember that it's not just about putting the cable in the ground. I'm sure everyone is aware of that. But back on the frustration train, next stop Bullshit City, and my fairly uneducated view, why not just put fiber in if you already have fiber to the street? It cannot be that much more for that last mile connection to be fiber. They could have converted these fiber to the curb connections to fiber because it's already pretty much there at the door. It all looks and feels pretty political. It's like having a wartime general run a high school athletics competition. Sure, there will be some deaths and injuries, but at least we will find out who really deserves to be on the field. Civil work is the most expensive part of the infrastructure rollout. Why not do it right the first time? I would love to get an answer on that and why that decision was made. But this feels like a sitcom from the 90s with all its copper dial-up glory. And like any other sitcom on the Christmas special episode, we have NBN Co losing out on buying land to install their wireless towers, leaving more than 40,000 homes to be rezoned. So what does this rezoning actually mean? Well, half of the 40K will now be under satellite and the other will get fixed line. This might be a win for those who get a cable to their home, but I bet you can guess what kind of cable. I mean, don't we have like 30,000 kilometers of copper lying around somewhere? Then to top it all off, NBN Co has to pay up on a mistake that we discussed last year when they told customers on the TransAct VDSL2 network, which was owned by IONET till TPG bought them in Canberra, and then they will be disconnected from the internet if they do not switch to the NBN, which was not true at all, as there was some exemptions in areas that are already served by a certain type of fixed line infrastructure. Now, this won't make much of a dent in the budget, as technically speaking, the people didn't lose any internet nor really money. It was the people who went back to TransAct after switching to the NBN. It was that reconnection cost that will be compensated. But another mistake in the long line of things that NBN Co does. Again, political. Let's move on to some of our smaller stories. In good news out of the NBN Co camp, they have released a media statement extending the extra data allowance that internet providers can access. Now, RSPs can access the additional 40% capacity at no cost until 19th August 2020. This should ease the move back to the office for many and give RSPs some breathing room. These extensions are also covering the extra data for SkyMaster customers, so let me know below if you are a SkyMaster customer and the extra data has actually helped you. In NBN's own words, they have provided $40 million worth of credits to RSPs since the start of the campaign. Here's what Chief Customer Officer Brad Whitcomb had to say. In recent weeks, we have seen data demand on NBN's main wholesale network settle into a new normal as more Australians head back to work and school. Since the start of March, NBN has added over 400,000 new connections, and there has still been 3 months of normal usage growth. Just as it is important that nation, business and schools get back to more normal way of life, it is important that internet providers also have the certainty that they need to get back to their usual operations. And with that in mind, let's talk Gigabit Plans. It seems that they have been a huge hit. Those who can have jumped onto it and signed up. A few months back, NBN Co released a report on their current connections and their speeds. So back in March, they had 129 gigabit connections, which were mostly businesses. Now they are at 2,500. I know it's a small number compared to the population, but hey, when you make an affordable product, people do usually buy it. Now, in an article in IT News, Aussie Broadband's managing director Philip Britt said that they have not only had their biggest sales week, but they signed up over 850 customers onto just the 250 down plan. These are great results for sure, and by far the most exciting prospect to look forward to when one day we all end up on fiber, affordable, high-speed plans. Let me know below if you have signed up and how your connection is going. I'd love to know if you can hit those gigabit speeds. Now, the ACCC may have missed the mark with their 50 megabits down is all a growing family needs article, but I think they have certainly redeemed themselves this week. They have finally won and hit back against Sony, landing a solid blow. Now, Sony will have to pay $3.5 million penalty for misrepresenting PlayStation gamers' rights. Hey Sony, those are my rights. Get your grubby hands off my rights. Our rights. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? I have put the ACCC media release link in the description below. You can have a read of that. But in all honesty, I am sick and tired of video game studios releasing products that are unfinished and rather problematic, can't even run them, especially on PC or even, PlayStation or Xbox. Just off the top of my head, I can remember Warcraft 3 remastered by Blizzard, Battlefield 5 by EA, it's terrible. Diablo 3 again by Blizzard, and of course No Man's Sky. These were terrible releases. This is a major win for consumer rights. Australia has had great protections within the nation, but digital products have been rather elusive due to the nature of digital. It's not seen as a real item still, yet they expect real money for it. Here's what ACCC Chair Rod Sims said in a statement. Consumer guarantee rights do not expire after a digital product has been downloaded and certainly do not disappear after 14 days or any other arbitrary date claimed by a game store or developer. I need like a big flag and like a mountain and just go, consumers can obtain a repair, replacement or refund directly from products with a major fault from sellers and cannot simply be sent to a product developer. Consumers who buy digital products online have exactly the same rights as they would if they made the purchase at a physical store. I am so glad to hear that Rod Sims said this. We have the same rights for digital goods as we have for physical purchases. I think this will set a good and very loud precedent across the industry. Let me know below if you ever had refunded or got a refund for a digital good. I wonder how that process went and what happened. Lastly, let's talk about the Dark Lord Voldemort and his evil plans for Australia. This week, the Department of Home Affairs and its Minister Peter Dutton have been considering an expansion of the agencies who can access Australia's controversial metadata pool. You may remember back in 2015, the Telecommunications Interception and Access Amendment Data Detention Act allowed criminal law enforcement agencies such as the Australian Federal Police, ICAC and ASIC to access the metadata of Australians without a warrant if it's in the interest of national security. The act is why all your telcos are retaining years of your metadata. Yes, they know you clicked on the "There are hot singles in your area" banner, and yes, they know you were disappointed when there wasn't any. few months back, we talked about who should foot the bill for this cost in doing so, but so far no one has put their hand up and I doubt anyone will. Now, up to 2015, the ATO was able to access the data, which would be concerning as all your Gumtree sales and purchase history would be up for debate. Excuse me, sir, you sold a couch for $50 3 months ago. You owe us some income tax. Now, luckily, the ATO was excluded, but now they could be back in the loop, including other state agencies such as New South Wales Fair Trading, the Queensland Office of Fair Trading, and Consumer Affairs Victoria. Now, jokes aside, let me know below if expanding who can access the metadata is the right move. Remember that earlier this year, a Senate hearing heard that Commonwealth Ombudsman Michael Mathrope admit law enforcement agencies had been accessing more data than initially anticipated due to ambiguities with the legislation. This is what he had to say. The piece of ambiguity we have observed through our inspection is that sometimes the metadata is the way that it is captured, particularly URL data and sometimes IP addresses, but particularly URL data does start to actually, in its granularity, communicate something about the content of what is being looked at. It can be quite long or it can be quite short, and in some cases the descriptor is long enough that we start to ask ourselves, well, that's almost communicating content, even though it's captured in the URL. When the scheme was commenced, the concept of metadata was probably thought to be quite clean and definable thing, but we now know that there is a grayness on the edge here that we thought we should pull out. Friends, thank you very much for watching this week's Dirt Report. Let me know your thoughts about that metadata. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Remember to tune in next week for another round of news and opinions. Hope to see you then. Remember, if you like this video, then tap that like button. I always have to say that. And if you would love to see more, then please consider subscribing. Love to see you here. And remember, I'll try and remember to put all the links below so you guys can have a read in more detail. Thanks for watching and bye.